Ingrid, you're done for the day. We're wrapped. Go home. We'll continue this tomorrow.
All right. Good night.
Hello everyone, I'm Sean Fermantis, founder and president of the Student Artists League, and today I am interviewing Grace Doyle, who is our vice president of media and publications here on SAL, and she was an editor for the short film She's Perfect. So Grace, tell us a little bit about this film and what it is about.
Yeah, definitely. So it was made for our 25-hour film challenge on campus, which happened about a month ago. There's an overlying theme every year, and this year's theme was films of the 40s, so film noir, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And each group during the challenge or during our pre-production phase, we pick a genre out of it was a hat this year.
Yeah.
So we had the horror genre. So it was myself and a team of about 3 other female filmmakers, and we decided to do this short film surrounding, of course, like our horror genre and the film noir theme, and then we also interlaced ideas and themes of feminism and violence towards women and how that's like a real life horror. So we have a little bit of real life, a little bit pulling from history. There were a lot of, because it centers around this woman who is kind of forced to take medication, and that was something that was very prevalent in the 1940s. So we tied in some real life themes into our works, and I thought it came out pretty well. We still don't know the results yet, but I'm hoping that we place, but we're not sure.
When do you find out the results?
We should find out this Wednesday.
Oh, that's pretty great.
Yeah, very soon.
So who else did you work with?
So our director and the person who kind of came up with this concept was Julia Schnarr, who is a sophomore filmmaker, and then I also worked with our director of photography, who is Charlie LeBron. And I've worked with these 2 women before, and we always produce some I would say it was very good work. We work so well together, and I always tell people my favorite part of the process was while we were editing, we were in the editing suite in Lender, and we just stopped for about 45 minutes, and we just had a great conversation about pretty much everything. We talked about women and gender issues, we talked about politics, current state of things, nothing to do with our film, but we just had such a good, interesting conversation, and I think that is what we're here to do, is create those conversations through our art form.
And you just automatically clicked from the get-go.
Oh yeah, so
great connection.
Yeah, we knew each other from freshman year, from our first year classes, stuff like that, and we all know our different styles of filmmaking. We're pretty, so it was a really good experience. I love that.
Talk a little bit about the cast. I know you're in this film. Who else is in it, and how did you get these cast members into the film in the first place?
Right, so we worked on this challenge last year, the same people. So we decided, it worked so well last year and we had such a blast that why not, go for a second year. And we used the same actors that we did last year because they also had such a great experience and they were so involved. So even though they weren't behind the scenes, and not all of them are film majors, some are in media studies and PR and journalism. They were so great to work with, and they were so excited about the final product.
That's fantastic. So you worked on this for the 25-hour film challenge, as you said. What is that like, working for 25 hours straight? Were you tired? Did you take naps? What was the schedule like?
It gets stressful.
I can imagine. It's
every year there's kind of these hurdles that you have to come, jump. So you get through. The way we did it was we did our whole pre-production. We wrote the script. And this year we kind of had an advantage because we knew what to expect because we did it last year. So we wrote, and then we started scouting locations, getting costumes together, getting our actresses on board with what we were doing. So filming took about, I would say probably maybe 6-ish hours. So we actually ended pretty early. We started editing around 10 or 11, and then that took us through the night because editing is 70%, and then that's where things can go wrong. And they did, but we got through it. We survived. And yeah, I would just have to thank like Red Bull, Celsius, and 5 Hour Energy.
You know, I've never had any of those.
Oh,
The interesting
man.
side bit, like I've
Right.
never had. One of my friends always drank Celsius.
Mm,
And
I-
thought it was like,
I used to be a Red Bull person. I used to love Red Bull, but I've made the switch to Celsius.
Alright.
It's not great, but I mean, it's definitely, you know, a caffeine addiction.
Yeah.
But
So on the topic of editing, like yeah, there were some very interesting choices for everyone who's gonna see the film. Go see it. There were a lot of very interesting choices. And like, how did that even happen? Like, there's this part with the mirror and
Yeah.
like the changes, what we see in the mirror. Like, how do you go about that? Was that like some sort of special effect? Like,
yeah, so we all have our different abilities in
Mhm.
editing, so we all decided to take part in it. So even though we are directors and co-writers and DP, we all took a part in editing. So that was actually Julia Schnarr. She did that in Final Cut Pro. She has had a lot of film experience and she went to film school. So she actually knew how to mask the mirror. So it was 2 different shots, right? And she created a mask over the mirror and then overlaid that second set of footage over it. So it looked like, you know, Emily was staring at herself in the mirror.
Yes.
So it was so interesting to watch, and that's maybe my favorite part about being an editor is like learning these new tricks just by being around other editors and other filmmakers, because there's always something to learn, I would say. And then on the flip side, you can always teach other people what you know, and it's just it's always, you know, it's a work in progress. Like nothing is ever fully finished or created because there's always so much to learn.
And but you're always learning from each
Yeah,
other, which
exactly.
is the great thing too.
Yeah.
Grace, I have one more question. So for everyone watching who's interested in learning film or becoming a film major, or like is working on a similar project, like what's some piece of advice, like one piece of advice that you would have for them?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people are wary of getting into film because they don't have the equipment. There's this idea that you need like this beautiful camera and you need the Adobe suite and everything like that. I would say if you have an idea and you have a concept and you're very passionate about it, just go for it. Even if you are shooting with your 2 cousins and some stick figures, like it could be anything. And that's what I've learned a lot this year is like you don't need these amazing actresses, you don't need all of this great equipment. You can film on an old camera and it could just be yourself. You could be playing all the roles. As long as you have that drive and that passion for filmmaking, you can create something amazing.
All right, fantastic. Well, that concludes our interview with Grace Doyle. Grace, I want to thank you for doing this interview with us. This was recorded live from SAL's Visual Art Showcase. If you want to check out some of the events that SAL is doing in the future, be sure to stay tuned to our social media pages at Quinnipiac SAL on Instagram and Twitter, and also check out our YouTube page, right?
Yeah.
Quinnipiac Student Artist League on YouTube. Thanks everyone, we'll see you later.